I'm Tim Malloy with the Civic Association. It is Thursday, June 11th. It had only happened twice, once in May, once in April, more than 15 people dying in one day in Palm Beach County. Then there was Tuesday of this week. 17 people died of the coronavirus in Palm Beach County. So if you think it's over, it's really not. The state relaxing its rules, Palm Beach very carefully, incrementally relaxing their rules, but we are not done with this yet. Wendy Rutledge talked to a local physician we all know well now, one of the leading epidemiologists in the world. Listen to this.
Yeah, Tim, there's a lot of numbers floating around and they look pretty grim. They really don't look very good. Yes, more deaths, more positive cases, but there are more tests being given. So what to make of all of this? Well, we took our questions to infectious disease expert, Dr. David Dodson.
This virus was introduced into the human population probably in late November, early December, and now 6 months later we have a worldwide pandemic. So what we've learned is that this virus is very, very contagious because from last December to now there's 7 million cases in the world. And we've also found out that we're all susceptible to it. So it's really been a remarkable thing that's affected every aspect of our society, and we're coming to grips with it on a day-by-day basis.
You mentioned when we were talking a few minutes ago, you called it a tsunami. What did you mean by that?
Well, again, nobody had heard of this virus several months ago, and all of a sudden it's just like a wave that's overtaken every aspect of our lives, of our political systems, of our economy. Our daily lives have been overtaken and turned upside down. So it's people are feeling a little disoriented and a little bit depressed about the whole thing, and rightfully so, because all of our lives have been turned upside down.
And now, just as we're doing some cautious reopening, the numbers seem to be spiking. Is that a way to characterize it? And if so, why?
Yeah, so let's get back to the basic biology of the virus. The coronavirus is a very simple organism, and it can only do two things. It can infect people, and then once it infects people, it replicates, and then it goes on to infect the next person. That's it. It infects, it replicates, it infects. That's its entire behavioral repertoire. But it's very good at infecting other people, as we found out. So every opportunity that we give this virus to infect another person, it'll take. And this is just we're dealing with Mother Nature here, we're dealing with a biologic agent. So every opportunity, every time humans get together, if one's infected and somebody's in contact with that person, then they can get infected and they pass it on, and that's what's happening. So all of these stage 1 and stage 2 and different, quarantine, self-isolation, the game is to prevent human to human contact and transfer of the virus. But every time we loosen those up and every time we let people get together, the virus is going to keep on replicating and infecting people.
So as an infectious disease specialist, given the social unrest and all of this need that people seem to have to be together and protest, are you anticipating a spike?
Well, sure. So we're loosening up we did learn that if we take drastic measures, that is, we shut down our entire society, we can decrease the spread of the virus. We've learned that because we flattened the curve, and so we do that. But then once you start loosening up all these restrictions and people start getting together, then inevitably the cases are going to go up. And I watched the protests recently, and that's just like a petri dish for the spread of the virus. So we anticipate that a couple weeks after the protests, we're going to see a further increase in cases.
One last question. In your experience and training, are we really going to see a vaccine by the end of the year, or is that wishful thinking?
Yeah. So a vaccine really takes a a long time to make sure it's absolutely safe and efficacious. So there are stages, stage 1, 2, and 3 in vaccine development. The third stage, when you give something that seems to work to a lot of people, you have to wait a long period of time to see if there's any side effects. So if we're talking about giving a vaccine to millions or hundreds of millions of people, we absolutely have to be sure that it's safe. So that process just takes a while, and I anticipate it's going to be a year and a half, maybe longer. Also, when we were hit with SARS in 2003, there was a push for a vaccine then, and that vaccine never occurred. So we may not even get a vaccine. But we're hopeful. Everybody's working on it all across the world. So, but I think, by the end of the year, I think that's unrealistic.
Sounds like we better get used to this.
Yeah, so I think we're in the long run. I think we need to just understand that the virus will be in our society and amongst us for the next year or two until we reach either herd immunity or a vaccine. And when you go out, you should just basically assume that any other human being you're in contact with could have it. And so the thing to do for you is to do the precautions that you've learned already. That is, wear a mask, wear gloves or wash your hands, keep a safe distance. And as long as you do those, then the risk of getting the virus is decreased and minimal.
If you wander around Palm Beach, you'll notice one thing. A lot of people who used to wear masks are not wearing them anymore. It's not a law, it's not a rule, it's advice. Wear masks. And that was one of the topics the council kicked around today, and it's an important one. A lot of other topics taken up by the council, and Wendy Rutledge has more on that.
Yes, Tim, it was a very busy day for the Palm Beach Town Council. They met again virtually due to the continued presence of the coronavirus. And the most controversial topic on their agenda today, whether or not to require that all residents, even all visitors to the island, must wear a facial covering.
I am wearing a face mask at the moment, but I don't think we should make it mandatory. That's just my point of view. And I think if we do, I think we're opening ourselves up for a lawsuit.
So began the council debate on whether to make the wearing of facial coverings or masks mandatory on Palm Beach Island.
If we were to try to enforce our mandatory law on everybody coming in from out of town that didn't have a mask, our police department would be working 24/7.
Potential lawsuits and enforceability dominated council concerns about requiring facial coverings. Council President Maggie Zeidman spoke about her belief that people want to do the right thing.
So when you put on a mask, as I said before, you're really making an ethical decision to protect others from an infection you may not even realize that you have.
Despite some discussion about requiring mandatory facial coverings for just grocery stores and pharmacies, in the end, council voted to not make them mandatory, but highly encouraged.
I would encourage all our stores to put signs on the door, no mask, no entry, and that they can do that. I believe. I've seen it.
Other town council actions include the hiring of the Fairfax Salmons firm to advise on aesthetic matters in the development of a plan for Lake Park Drive and the park adjacent to the town marina. The undergrounding project continues, though slowed down in some areas due to a few homeowners not allowing easements onto their property. A unifying moment was shared and supported by all council members as Julie Ariskog delivered her reflections on protests and policing.
We need to all come together for change, but please do not lump all officers together, forgetting those who selflessly serve communities all over Florida and our country, and especially right here in town. And please do not lump peaceful protesters with those agitators who just want to create chaos and destruction. I am for change and hope we can come together to heal and bring about much needed discussion and action for equality and justice for all.
For the Palm Beach Civic Association, I'm Wendy Rutledge reporting.
Their names were Arthur, Bertha, and Cristobal. 3 storms early in the season. In fact, 2 of them, even before hurricane season officially began, they were in late May. This third, Cristobal, June 2nd, went up through New Orleans. Not huge storms, not a lot of damage, but certainly red flags as we begin the hurricane season. And that reminds us to tell you, we have a hurricane special we work pretty hard on, which is pretty instructional. And it is available at palmbeachcivic.org. We'd like to refer you to that and hope you take a look at it as the hurricane season gains momentum. Could be a lot of storms this year, we hope not, but could be a very, very busy season. Now, the ocean is calm at the moment, and we're going to launch a new series now, a talk with our lifeguards about sea conditions, lightning, anything that involves being on a beach, and then ultimately we're going to talk a lot about the hurricane season. Something for surfers as well, and many of these lifeguards are actually surfers. So here's our first segment. So we're looking out there and we're thinking toward the weekend. What do we got? It's pretty quiet.
It could be calm throughout the weekend, but we always got to worry about stuff like heat. We get these east and southeast winds coming in off the Gulf Stream. It's always going to cause rip currents and a little bit of chop. Renourishment has kind of caused a little bit of a trough at the shoreline there. We have a big escarpment right there at the, there's a big drop off.
Right.
And besides that, you just always want to make sure that you're going to stay hydrated, swim within, the guarded area, everything like that. Jellyfish this time of year isn't really something that we look out for, even though, that is their home and that's where they can be. You got, the potential for predatory fish and everything like that to come in the area, but we're always watching the water, so.
And there's a slight chance of a tropical wave
right.
coming towards
yeah,
us on the weekend.
We're keeping an eye on that. We're watching what its development is going to do. I don't think it's a potential threat for landfall or anything like that, besides the rain and the flooding that we've had to deal with lately. But it could create some fun surf and a good weekend at the beach.
That'd be what, Sunday, Monday kind of?
Yeah, Sunday, Monday it looks like.
All right, but looking pretty good going into the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. We're excited.
Well, we heard it was going to be a busy hurricane season, and most of us feel that it's proving true already in the early stages of the season. We wanted to know, with a big storm potentially coming our way at some point this summer, what exactly happens to the sea turtle nests?
After storms come into our local areas, we see significant tidal inundation of a lot of our nests, so meaning that a lot of our nests get overwashed with the surf. And that's not really detrimental to the animals or to the nests if it happens once or twice, but if it happens continuously and for long periods of time, that can lead to mortality of those nests. When an egg gets washed out of its nest, it kind of rotates and rolls around, and that, those eggs are doomed after that. So there's really nothing we can do after the eggs are kind of washed out due to storm. If it's hatchling season, usually later in the sea turtle season, like June, July, August, and September, when we get a lot of these storms, we will see a significantly higher number of what we call washback hatchlings that come to shore. So hatchlings that have emerged from their nests and then make it out to the water. They're only this big, so they can't really swim against really large currents. And so what happens is those get blown back into shore, and we will collect those. And we do see significantly more of those hatchlings during periods of high storms than not.
I'm Tim Malloy with the Civic Association, where membership matters. If you are a member, we hope you will renew. If you aren't a member, we sure like it if you joined us. We leave you now with the beautiful ocean shots, as we have with Sue Patterson, magical camera work. And we want to refer you back to the segment we just did with Dr. Dodson. Please pay attention. Consider wearing masks. This is not over at all. We break in with new information on our websites if there is any. But we wish you well, and we wish you a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.